Hi everyone! Oh my goodness!
Hello.
Yes!
Hi everyone on Twitch. I want to welcome you all. Oh my god! Oh my god! See, I'm very overwhelmed. I feel so petite amongst all of you. I feel, oh my goodness. Well, hi everyone. Welcome on in. My name is Dona Tarte. I'm an Irish queer variety streamer, professional baker, and drag artist based in London. And I want to welcome you all to the first ever, according to Google, LGBTQIA plus food and drink streamer panel. I know. I don't know how this niche was never picked up for a panel before. Throughout the lockdown, I noticed that there was so many alternative types of categories on Twitch starting to just make a boom on the platform. However, I found it increasingly difficult to find other LGBTQIA plus content creators amongst this gorgeous space. So, with the help of Gaming Live presented by Ally and the Community Zone sponsored by Devolver Digital, they let us do exactly that. So, today, around me, as you can see, we have these gorgeous individuals. How are you all doing today?
We're
Amazing.
absolutely
Okay.
amazing.
Silence them. Sorry. Welcome on in,
Fabulous,
everyone.
no,
There we are.
fabulous.
Okay, well, what we're going to do, so we can dive right into it, is we're going to have little introductions and we'll go with how we're on stream. So, John down to me. But you know what? I'll give you a hot sec. Actually, no. Do you want to go first, John?
Yeah, I'll go. I'll go ahead. So yes, hello everybody. Welcome to beautiful Calgary, Alberta, Canada. My name is John Leung, and yes, on my stream, I like to put, as I like to call it, a little naughty, but it's we like to put a little Asia in your mouth. I do a lot of Asian and world cooking on my stream. I do try to stream about 3 times a week, and yes, I am a former professional cook, also a former finalist on MasterChef Canada. So, and yes, well, I'll tell you a little bit more about my story as Donna asks her magical questions. Again, good to see everybody. Thank you for having me tonight, there, Donna.
Yes. Hi, Cake.
Hi, how are you doing? Hello, I'm cakejumper. I'm a variety streamer, and I mostly stream video games, and every Friday I do food and drink, and I mostly focus on baking. I've been branching out a little bit to, I mean, it's coming to that time of the year. I want to make stews, I want to make curries, I want to make shepherd's pie. Like I want big, hearty, wholesome, like winter food, and it's still not cold enough, but we'll get there. I'm not at all trained in cooking. Everything I either learned in school or I've learned by making a mistake and learning from that. So it's kind of fun though, because when we're baking along on stream and stuff, it's kind of like we're all learning together and we learn something new. And thankfully, nothing's gone up in fire. So I'm thankful for that much at least. Yet.
So, yet, the year isn't over yet.
That's
2022,
it.
new year, new you, new kitchen.
Mhm, mhm.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hi. I actually want that new kitchen part. I'm ready for that. Hi, I am Brian, aka Urban Bohemian. I'm a variety streamer on Twitch, and that does include food and drink when I drag my cameras into the kitchen. And I mostly enjoy making what I'm gonna already make for dinner or dessert and kind of using it as content on Twitch. So it's like it serves a double purpose. And Dona actually made me bake a cake recently-ish.
Recently,
And yeah, it was like last. I don't.
over a year ago. Recent, yes. Yeah,
Recent, sure. What is time right now? I don't know.
Amazing. And last but not least, Jane. Hi.
Hello. So I'm Jane Henry. This is definitely not my kitchen. And I make soul food from around the world. So it's been rather nice because especially since I've been on Twitch, I have had a taste for all sorts of foods, international food. And if I, in the words of Ariana Grande, I see it, I want it, I get it, I like it. And it's a blast being around other food and drink streamers, and thanks for having me.
Yes, lovely. And who else? Well, I guess there's myself. Hi, I'm Dona Tarte. I think I already introduced myself, but I love myself. So, just to make it quick, I am a phenomenal drag artist and actually a trained baker as well. My pronouns in drag are she, they, and what else is there? Yes, book me. So yeah, let's get into the questions. So I have prepared a handful of very intricate questions that you're probably anticipating already. However, if you in the chat have any questions for all of our lovely foodies here, please drop them into the chat, as we'll be picking up a few at the very end. So make it juicy, make it interesting, make it unique. Thank you. That's what you are. Beyonce reference. Right, are you all ready?
Ready.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, so the first and foremost, I need to ask, and this is very deep, I know, very, very touching. So how did you get into like cooking slash baking slash food stuff? If you want a second, I can start. I can get the ball rolling
Yep.
because I'm really good at waffling. So for me, my grandmother was really, really into baking. She used to bake really late at night till like 2 a.m. And she was known for showing up to all of the events with just like boxes of cakes. And her name was Nana, which is part of Dona, which is why I'm Dona Tarte, because baking
Oh,
grannies. Yeah, my other granny is
Aw.
Dodo.
gosh.
Yeah. So one Dodo, she used to do flowers, Nana used to do cakes, and then Dona does a mess. So, you know, it all comes from somewhere. Yes.
That's awesome.
That's lovely.
That's so sweet.
So who would you like to start, John? I don't want to press you. If
Sure,
you okay,
I can-
actually,
I totally can. Absolutely. So,
amazing.
well, I guess the story is going to be long, so I'm going to try to keep it within about like 35 to 40 seconds here. So, originally, I was raised by my grandmother. So, my very earliest memory was watching my grandmother, or as I call her in Cantonese, a po. Yes, I speak Cantonese and Mandarin, but I mostly speak Cantonese. I'm originally from Hong Kong. So, my grandmother made some amazing food, very home cooked dishes. Outside of a little, almost like the kitchen, the size of oh god, honestly, I'd say probably size of a apartment, British apartment, water closet or a bathroom. So literally the size of a bathroom, kitchen the size of a bathroom. And she made some amazing food. And literally and even though that she made some dishes that weren't exactly like chef quality or restaurant quality, I mean, she still showed me the world. She taught me how to appreciate food. She is of course no longer around, but again, every day I cook in memory of her, because again, she's someone who got me interested in cooking. Since again, my professional career, I started right after MasterChef. I was on the first season of MasterChef Canada. I've always been cooking. I've actually always really liked to experiment, especially since my folks didn't really enjoy what they call Western food. So I did a lot of experimentation by myself to cook what I wanted to eat. I got pretty good. Then again, I applied for MasterChef. That's another funny story. I'll tell you. I'll tell you more about that. It's definitely it needs a couple of wobbly pops for that one. But
We'll make a whole question just for that, because I feel like
So-
more than one of us have been on.
Yeah.
We'll make a question just for you. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about
okay.
it.
And yeah, so MasterChef, professional cook. I worked for a cook for 8 years, and then after that, I got laid off in the pandemic. And I've always wanted to do content creation. And then one of my bosses at the time said, "Why don't you try Twitch? Because YouTube is just very saturated already. So why not go to Twitch?" And I did that, and I've never looked back. And here we are.
Yes. Lovely. How about yourself, Cake?
So I don't know how to say this without sounding like I'm speaking over, but my mom didn't really bake when I was growing up. Like she'd make great stews, all that kind of stuff, but I only learned baking when I went to school. I did like my practical for home ec and everything, and I made scones. And I was like, this is one thing I'm good at. So anytime once I moved to college, anytime I was stressed, I'd be like, I'm gonna make a batch of scones. I'm gonna eat them all. So that was like my comfort food. And I didn't really bake a whole lot for like a couple of years. And I kind of missed it. But I was always like, oh, if I bake a big load of stuff, like I'm not gonna eat it. And at the time, like I was living with housemates, I was like, oh, they don't really want it, you know. So when the pandemic came around, I had started streaming video games. Like Animal Crossing came out, and I was just full steam ahead. Like there was no stopping me. And I was like, geez, everyone's making a nice loaf of bread these days. Maybe I should start like try and bake again. Like it's been so long. So I tried making myself a little soda bread, and that came out nice. And I remember the first stream I was set up, I had a little webcam like held onto a monitor stand across the kitchen, and it was the most scuffed setup, but it was so much fun. And I realized that something I really enjoy is cooking or baking and just chatting to people, because everyone's like, oh, I remember like my mum used to make this, or like my auntie used to make this and she'd do this and you should try it this way if you want to do XYZ. And I don't know, I really like the social aspect of like food. I always think it's a really nice thing. Like if you meet up with people, you're going for food. Sometimes you might go for a drink, but it's nice to go for lunch. And something I've gotten out of baking a lot more now is sharing it with people. And sometimes it's it's poison. I have to eat it all. But look, that's just how it is. But it's so nice to just share food with people and stuff that you're really proud of making as well. So yeah, that's it. I've no formal training. It's just good fun.
I mean, home ec is formal training. In
I
case you don't,
guess.
you learned all the staples. Scones.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I learned
Yeah.
something.
Thank you, Irish education system.
Yay.
So, Brian, what about yourself?
Well, growing up, I was essentially a latchkey kid. Both my parents worked, so they didn't make a lot of fancy anything. It was really just whatever they could get on the table. But I was enamored with food shows, the educational ones, not really the food lifestyle reality type that they have now. I just love to watch somebody cooking and instructing others and talking about what they're doing. And when I finally moved out on my own, I started I became a foodie, like with a foodie craze, and I just kind of loved it. Sharing recipes on my blog, going out, and yeah, I think a friend suggested, well, why don't you try streaming what you're doing on Twitch? And it was a whole massive setup to bring the whole setup into another room and figure everything out. But it was a lot of fun. You're just you're chatting, you're talking about what you're doing. People ask questions. I am not an expert. I'm like Cake Jumper, not formally trained at all. But it's kind of nice to have that different kind of social conversation where you're driving it, and you're also, like I said, you're kind of getting things done that you'd normally make anyway. Um, the amount of stuff I've made definitely has gone down because I used to have my coworkers to take stuff to, and they'd eat the leftovers. So now I'm just like, okay, if I make something, it's got to be like a meal for one or two, because otherwise it's too much food.
That's difficult, though, isn't it?
It is.
Especially through lockdown. I'd be like, wow, I've made a whole pantry worth of cupcakes for one person. Very frustrating, because that was the biggest challenge. Anyway, sorry.
Portion control is definitely hard one.
Oh,
Until I make a cheesecake, because that's all for me. It's fine.
oh, yes. Just one, no
Nope,
slicing.
no sharing,
slicing.
no sharing.
Just, How about yourself, Jane?
Well, let's see. Most of my food memories come from major holidays, like a lot of us. And, my parents were born and raised in the American South. So I get, fried chicken and collard greens and mac and cheese and all that other good stuff. But it wasn't until I moved out on my own that I was actually able to start cooking the things that I really wanted to try and eat. And amusingly enough, my family has a history of heart disease, well, not heart disease, but strokes, diabetes, high blood pressure, all that other stuff. But because I have, I guess, an international palate, interestingly enough, it has improved my eating. So that's been very useful. My mother was recently diagnosed with diabetes, and she's trying to find ways to improve her diet. So I'm like, here, try this dish from Vietnam. Hey, try this salad from over here. And it's been great. But yeah, the first thing I ever made once I moved out on my own was beer can chicken. And then I discovered the internet in all of its foodie glory, and I have not looked back since. So that's how I got into it.
Dear cat. See, well, I've always seen it, and I love the concept, but my oven is not big enough. How do you fit it in?
There are, you can kind of cheat by pouring the beer into a pan and then putting the chicken in sideways
Oh,
and
I
then
thought you meant
covering
just
it with
pour it
oil.
in the chicken.
Right,
Tie
and
it.
that too.
Mm.
So the whole point is to have the beer steam the chicken. So as long as that steam is happening, you're good to go.
Oh, stunning. Well, I'm writing notes, writing notes. Amazing.
And I also forgot to mention how I got into Twitch. I'm sorry, completely left
No,
that
not
part
at
out.
all. Not at all.
So my husband had a friend who was streaming games at the time. So she got him into streaming games. Then he got one of our roommates into streaming art. And then I was like, well, y'all are doing it. How come I can't do it? So that's how and I think the entire household will be streaming. Now the only person streaming regularly is me. My husband is trying to get back into it, but yeah, I'm the only one streaming food in our house right now.
I mean, the thing is that like gaming, if you have time to game, great. But everyone eats every single day, you know? Like it's a thing that we do in our process, and it's like you said, Cake. It's kind of like it opens people into a world of being able to just like chat with you.
Mm.
And I think when the Panettone first started, I think I had done maybe one food and drink stream, like literally the week or two before. And my intention was always to do like drag, baking, put it all together because I really didn't have time to do just drag, to do just baking, to do just streaming. So I was like, screw it, we'll put it all together, we'll put it on Twitch, let's see if anyone likes it. And two people did at the time, and that was well over enough for me, and it has cemented me since. So when Panettone first started, and we were all kind of like back in our homes, I was shipped back to Ireland, I started to do, like you said, moving over to just doing it more regularly. And I feel like food and drink streaming just kind of really took form, especially during lockdown, because so many people weren't necessarily needing to see the games. They were also wanting to chat to people. They were wanting to like be in someone else's home. Like, you know, when you go to someone's home and you make food together, it's a very like nurturing kind of experience. It's like that, but online. And I feel like that really, really helped all of that. But speaking of that, when you took it to Twitch, what were the biggest challenges that maybe you didn't kind of anticipate when going into this kind of category of food and drink? I guess I could start by saying finding yeast in the middle of lockdown when everyone wants to see a bread stream. I could not find yeast for a solid 2 months. And then I think my mom came home with just this huge bag of yeast being like, look what I found. It was her fault. It was her fault.
Oh my God, that'd be like,
I mean, I feel bad because I don't think I got through all of it, but I was like, bread for everyone. It was very important moment. But that, as well as I find having multiple cameras and lighting and just setting up, it takes just so much longer than say a gaming stream. So I think that is probably the biggest challenge, is just setting up for me. How about yourselves? Would anyone like to start?
It's funny. Oh, it's funny you mentioned the food, the random ingredient shortages that have been throughout the past 2 years. The yeast was one thing, but yeah, like having to pivot on a recipe because you're just not going to find it in stores. But I do think that the video and audio is probably the toughest for me. Like trying to figure out, like, do I add another camera? Where does it go? How does it point? And then getting the lighting so that things aren't bouncing back and making sure people can hear me and that the kitchen stuff isn't too loud over me. I think the setup, like the technical setup, has been the hardest thing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, because that was another shortage, was literally just finding camera. I forgot. These Logitech C920s, which I use for like hand cam, they were like
my God, yes,
gold.
yes.
I think I picked up one just before lockdown for my first baking stream. Like 2 weeks later, they were going for hundreds, and I wish I sold them in the moment. But no, I was very lucky that I just happened to get a new setup just before everything happened.
Oh, it was
the
on
925. Yeah. Sorry, Kate. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're all right. You go on. I'm just going, oh, jeez, I remember.
No, I was just saying, like literally, I was just watching a place called Memory Express here in Calgary. I was like watching it, like watching like a hawk. I need that C2925. Give it to me. Give it to me. And then finally, one day I saw one available. I'm like, I'm booking it halfway across town, and I'm getting it, and I don't care how much that Uber costs. It's coming with me. Yeah, the cameras, and also one of the big challenges is also one of the great ingredient shortages that I still have problems with is Thai basil, and it breaks my heart. Literally, Thai basil is actually one of the hardest things to find here in Calgary right now. And anyway, so and also the challenges, I guess, probably go on that as well too. Is it's honestly, I kind of find talking to people in front of a camera is also a big challenge for me. I've been trained in broadcasting. Originally, I wanted to be a news journalist on television. But one of my biggest drawbacks is I have a very hard time looking at a camera. So my eyes just dart everywhere. So talking to people, watching chat, and just knowing the balance of like just when to kind of just engage the chat and not talking at people, but talking with people. that's a challenge that's still ongoing for me, along with the audio visual stuff as well too. The audio visual is probably going to be a constant challenge. OBS is going to be a constant challenge for me. I'm not a big tech guy. I mean, I'm more about the content, but talking, knowing the difference between talking to people and talking at people, and also building that community is probably the biggest challenge. Because again, before I started, I kind of came into Twitch cold. Like literally, I'd never done a live stream before that, so that's probably the biggest challenge for me. Sorry.
It is a balancing act, like having to do the talking, the baking, preparing recipes as well, even just getting ingredients and being like, especially if you want to like show something and being like, maybe I should test bake this. And also through lockdown, you had no one to give it to as well. So you'd be like, I don't want to make too much. My freezer is only so big. So yeah, there was just a whole balancing act, along with having to kind of keep yourself in form in front of a camera, which is already quite anxiety inducing. How about yourselves, either Cake or Jane there?
I
Well, maybe both at the same time, actually. No, I think both would be at the... I like... no,
Rock,
I'm
paper,
kidding.
scissors.
Sorry.
You, go on.
Okay, so for me, there are two big challenges. One, the technology, because obviously, operating systems need to update and things like that. Sometimes things just malfunction. There have been times where I thought everything was working, and I get on, and then my chat's like, we can't hear a word you're saying. And I'm like, but the lights are flashing and the little blinky things are blinking. What do you mean? So then I have to take 15 minutes to do tech, and it's so irritating. Then there's one big one that has not been happening recently, and I'm sincerely hoping it does not happen again anytime soon. Dealing with hate raids. One of my first few streams, I had one, and fortunately I was able to catch it and cut it off. And I haven't had an issue with it since, but when it happens, it's rare enough that it can catch you off guard, but frequent enough that you know it's going to be a challenge. Fortunately, I think I'd rather have the tech issues because they're fairly easy to solve. And I'm also very lucky because my husband works in IT. So I just basically yell for him and he's able to fix most of the problems.
Oh,
so
amazing. You're like, Wi-Fi, please, water, thank you.
Wow.
Honestly.
Amazing. Oh,
Honestly,
goodness.
hello? Melvin?
An entire
Water.
empty
Sorry.
live, an entire empty. Wow.
I know.
Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
No,
It's
that's
all
too
right.
much.
All right. Sorry.
That is just no.
Sorry.
Okay, no.
I feel so bad they're getting up. Like, what is it? They closed the door. Okay, anyway. Cake, how about yourself?
I had some tech issues at the beginning because I ran my whole stream off a laptop that was not built to stream for a long time. I only replaced my Friday streams there about a month ago or so. But a big thing for me early on was the camera. Now, here's the fun thing. I was lucky enough to have a lend of one of the Logitech webcams that everyone was trying to get their hands on. So I had that for a while. And then I was absolutely very, very lucky that some friends raised money so that I could upgrade my stream and like the whole setup and everything. So I got a camera. I was like, this is great. And then I realized I needed a cam link. Do you know what else was in short supply in 2020? You couldn't get a cam link for love nor money. So I did get a capture card in the end, but it was a lot of rigmarole to get it. But other than that, there was I didn't have a shortage of yeast because I was afraid to make yeast bread. I was very bad at it. But I couldn't find baking parchment anywhere for about 3 months. Anywhere. And I was like, I have to use tinfoil. There's nothing else I can use, but it feels illegal. I feel like the baking police are going to come in. Like the baking guards are going to come in. They're going to take me away and they're going to have words with me. But it felt wrong. Like, it'd be like, all right, I got to line the tin. I'd take out the big tinfoil. I was like, it just, it was awful. It was really, really awful. Another thing that I find kind of challenging on stream sometimes with baking or cooking or anything is trying to time everything to be done at the same time. Because I'm bad enough at that off stream, but when I'm also, we have a little chat, we'd be messing around, we'd be having a laugh at the same time, and I'm trying to keep track of that, and I'm trying to make sure, everyone's having a good time. I'm trying to make sure nothing's on fire behind me, and I'm trying to make sure I don't have like the resting face when I'm looking at the camera. And I'm like, is everything going to be done at once? And usually it is, because I try to keep it simple, but that's definitely a big one. A big one. But I'm getting better at it. Slowly
All
but
of that is
surely getting better
content.
at it.
All of that is content.
Exactly.
Every single
If
one
we
of those
can
is
have a
TikTok.
laugh, if we can have a laugh about it, then I think it's worth it.
Exactly. I love it. And also the face new emote. I love it. You know?
A new
Um,
emote. Oh
I
no.
must say really quickly, when we were talking about the yeast shortage, Kanara, who is a amazing food and drink streamer, she she said in the chat, if you have access to the vineyard or grow your own grapes, you can use those for yeast. Of course. I just love that. That's like that is a food and drink streamer right there. Is finding being like, well, we don't have yeast. I could use the grapes from the vineyard that I have outside. I love that. Kanara is
That
just
is literally like rich person Food Network content from the 90s. You know,
doesn't
like
mean it
oh
has to
yeah.
be your no, it doesn't have to be your vineyard, Joe. You know, your neighbors
Okay.
maybe, but
It's
but,
somebody's vineyard. You know what I mean? Someone's
yeah.
vineyard.
That's right. Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, I guess what this next question, it's a little, even I'm reading it now and being like, what did I just type? Um, we're just acting like, oh, what was that? What just happened there? So basically, as LGBTQ plus streamers, I personally found even just putting together this panel was quite difficult because as food and drink streamers, the category is very different from most. Like some days you go in, there's 2 streamers. Some day you go in, there's 100. But no matter what, there's going to be an Ina Garden like replaying somewhere. There's always that food channel. Always. What's it called?
Yeah,
Hungry?
oh yeah.
Always.
Yes.
Yep.
But as LGBTQ plus creators, do you find being on the platform, do you feel like you get much what is the word? Like, do you feel like not neglect, but do you feel like seen as Twitch? Like, do you feel like there could be more put? I honestly am waffling so badly. Dona Tarte.
Did you just hit yourself with it?
Maybe I did.
Okay.
Is that a
That's okay.
massive
Is that just a-
powder?
Reset the brain a
Is
little
that
bit.
just a
you know?
standard cake that you
I
have
thought that
on
was
hand?
a
Crazy.
Just
It's
stand.
me wasting time while I reword my question.
You know.
Um,
Wait, what?
Uh, do you feel like the discovery of other LGBTQ plus streamers in the food and drink category, could there be help with that? What would you like to be seen done? Is that a good question?
There
Have I
it
said
is.
it properly?
That makes you feel
That's
any
a
better.
beautiful question. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Yes.
Goodbye.
Yeah, I brought it back to Twitch discoverability, which is
Mm.
it already feels, even if you're unless you're playing the most popular game content on Twitch, it already feels like it's impossible to, show up in people's suggestions and, goodness forbid that front page carousel. But I think that we all probably dealt with this where we are doing things and there is a food and drink category, and yet people who aren't our regular viewers will still walk into chat and say, wait, people are cooking? Like, what's this about? And I'm like, yes, kitchen, stove, fire. It's pretty self-explanatory. Yeah. I think it is harder to it's harder to get seen and rise up in essentially Twitch's own suggestions to hop into our chat. Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we're
And
still in a
I
bit of a niche. Sorry, Jane, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I see
I'm so bad at
we
orchestrating this. I'm so sorry. I'm just like, keep talking. Just all you take a.
It's all good. It is all good. I noticed that we also have a similar question, and I'm guessing this is probably where Donna got it from Melinda Magpie. How do you think your food streaming connects with your LGBTQIA+ audience? And yeah, I think I can't think of much else that Twitch can do for me, at least, because for me, my queerness isn't evident. I'm bi, so I'm also married to a man, so it's not that visible. But it's one of those, if you ask me, I will tell you, and I'll tell you everything you ever wanted to know. But I'm trying not to make that a focus because I'm also here to cook and I'm here to build a community. So as far as that's concerned, I think us celebrating more things like, LGBT History Month, Pride Month, things like that, really bringing out people who have paved the way in our community would be a big thing. But then that would be on us as streamers to really jump on that and be like, okay, we're doing this, and then insisting that Twitch do something about it. and make it more evident than just a private thing. So yeah, that's how and for me also how I connect that to my community is I consider my channel a safer space. So if there are people who are being bullied or aren't quite sure if they should come out yet or things like that, it's a place to talk. And it's a place to go where other people are going to be kind of in the same boat. They can share their experiences and they can bond with you over it. So there you go. I'm going to shut up now and stop talking.
No,
I
amazing.
like you
No.
talking.
Yes, that's the point. That's the point.
Otherwise, someone else is going to talk, like me. So what I have a
So
second
as I was
microphone.
saying,
Or Dona's just going to
what I
come in and
will-
take over, and it's going to be a whole like what?
It's just me answering my own questions for 10 minutes. I will say that is a staple thing in food and drink. You just think of like, has anyone seen the weather? Whoa, those moments where you're kind of just making like stirring like words. Anyway, sorry, cake.
I totally
Yeah,
get
I
that.
feel
I
you.
totally get that.
That's the next question. That's the next question. Sorry, cake.
Something I have found. So I think Jane has kind of explained the experience of being I hate this term, but it's the only term I can think of, straight passing by woman on the internet, because everyone's like, oh, you're with a man or married to a man or engaged to a man or whatever, like blah, blah, blah. So like you kind of covered that better than I can articulate, because I'll start throwing hands. I don't want to throw hands. We're having a very nice time. But
Contact.
something I've definitely, you know what, this is a good point.
You can
Something,
marry go do it. You know what I mean?
look, don't get me cracking the knuckles. That'll be it then. That's the start.
That's bad for you.
That's fine. It's worth it. But something I've definitely was just like, this is a very general one with food and drink is, and I want to make it clear that like I'm not being like, oh, this person's doing the thing wrong, because like it's much more complicated than that for a lot of people. But there are a lot of big streamers that do food and drink streams that do not stream under the food and drink category, and often it's because they don't actually know it exists. But I did, and I'm not saying who it was, and it's like it was nothing bad. It was like obviously this person was just nervous about it. There's a streamer I followed for a while who did food and drink streams, and she was really good, like really, really good at cooking, like incredibly good, and would always stream under just chatting. And I was a lurker, but I did ask one day, and I was like, here, look, I'm not being weird. I'm curious. Why do you stream food and drink and just chatting? And she was like, well, I just feel like there'd be a weird focus on me because I'm a big streamer in food and drink. I was like, but if nobody does that, how do we do, like, how do we get more people to, one, realize that the category exists, and two, not be afraid to put themselves in there? Because I see it so often. Like there's so many streamers, and maybe they feel like they're not welcome. Maybe they feel like they're kind of, like stepping on people's toes by being like, oh, I've got X numbers of viewers or whatever, and I'm coming into this little sort of niche category. But I really wish people were less afraid, because I think it can shine a really big light on a category that not a lot of people know exists in the first place. So I'd like to see people just getting in there and getting stuck in, and not being afraid of being like, oh, I'm going to upset, person over here, because they're probably going to be like, any smaller streamers are going to be delighted that there's more people in the category and more people are knowing about it. So I'm going to stop before I keep rambling, because I'm going to start. I've hit about here, and I'm going to go in the same circle and just word it differently about 5 times.
No, I mean, honestly, that's kind of a big thing in that. I think, especially with the beauty and body art category, there was a lot of things where people would stream on just chatting because they found the discoverability in that category wasn't that great. But then when everyone doesn't want to do it, then the thing is empty. So
That's it.
I think
That's the difficult thing.
having like that kind of, maybe it'd be fun if there was like a program or like some sort of like thing put together for like a week of LGBT foodies for a charity, or this whole program. That would be really fun. Twitch, that would be really fun and entertaining.
It'd be
Not with the
fabulous.
effects and
Fabulous,
everything.
I think.
Now, Twitch
Anyway.
Twitch did highlight food and drink content. So honestly,
Yeah.
next time maybe it's our turn.
But maybe
Just
it's,
saying.
maybe it's us.
Maybe Rainbow Food and Drink Month.
Maybe Dona needs to
I
talk to
don't
them with the echo on
know.
again. Is all I'm
Maybe
saying.
I
Like,
do.
you
Maybe
know.
I need to
Get
threaten
right
them.
into the
Maybe
brainstem,
I need Cake's knuckles. That's
You
what I
gotta,
need.
you gotta give it down like a little crunch, A little crunch.
Great for kneading dough. Does anyone else have any, or would like to chime in, or will we move on to the next? Also, I gotta quickly say, for everyone in chat, if you have any questions for these lovely panelists, I believe we have about 10 minutes left. So I think in about 5 minutes, Maths, we'll have about 5 minutes left for any questions in the chat. So if you have anything to ask, please do drop it in the chat, and we'll come to it at the very, very end Does anyone else want to chime in on this question?
I think I'm good. I think honestly, Cake probably just nailed it on the head. Like
Cake
literally,
and
more
Jane
people
just-
need to be.
Mhm.
Yeah,
All
she
that.
nailed it.
Well,
Honestly,
And,
more
and
people
you know,
need to stream in it, and yeah, that's all it is.
I'm thinking for the folks who are very supportive of cake throwing hands. The only caveat I would say is, you know, if she throws hands, she might damage her hands, and we can't have
Sure.
that because, you know,
No.
there's cake involved, there's food. We can't do that. That's not okay.
So we are
Hands
hiring
make
hands
food.
right now.
Please
Yeah.
don't hurt the Cake Jumper, please. Thank you. Okay,
Excuse me.
thank
I moisturize these hands. Like, come on.
So, Brian, would you like to chime in, or will we move on?
Please
Sorry, I don't
move
mean to
on.
put you on the spot. Move
No,
on.
it's
I'm so
okay.
sorry.
I've forgotten the question.
I'm
what?
so sorry. It's fine. It was literally 20 minutes ago. I'm so sorry.
No,
So I
it's
guess
okay.
this is my last question, seeing as we have to wrap up very soon. For people who are considering trying out food and drink streaming, streaming around food and drink in general, do you have any advice for them? I'm gonna hop in real quick and just say that don't do it. It's not worth it. We're just here because we need to be, you know. No, it's very
is the
difficult.
worst.
It is so difficult. It is so difficult, but it is actually so fun. Like you said, it is like basically a just chatting stream, except you have something to do in between. And it pulls in the most random people from the most random corners of Twitch coming in being like, A, are you a boy? And B, what are you baking? And it is so much fun, both of them. It is the most interesting thing to do. However, I will say, having to invest in things like maybe lighting or different types of cameras, different types of things, just things that are kind of like you wouldn't think about until you do it. So I definitely say anticipate the amount of time you need beforehand to do it. I have to set up a day before because it's so difficult sometimes.
Yeah.
It is not fun. Not fun.
Yeah.
It's
Used to
a
take
lot.
me about 2.5 hours to set up, and now I've actually got it down to one. Like I said, I've
Ooh.
put myself a lot of moving parts, like a lot of things. Like I'm like slowly kind of moving it down so I can actually get my camera and my everything stove, face camera, everything set up in about an hour, so I can actually chill, maybe even take a nap, take a shower before I start, so that I'm actually at 100%, especially if I'm streaming after work as well too, because work an 8.5 hour shift and then get maybe say only give myself 90 minutes to start at 5, so that we can actually 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is about 7 p.m. Eastern, which is already pretty late for the East. So again, but the timing is also a big thing. So again, just want to make sure that I get started right on time so that people can actually whole dish. So I mean, yesterday started 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, which is about 6 p.m. Eastern. We made steak frites yesterday, so it was with a green curry herbs chimichurri. I finished around 9 o'clock, so 9 o'clock, so about 5 hours. But people were still there, and they were still going like, yeah, and they were still, they actually be able to see it, saw the whole dish, and we had a rockin' time too. So that's a good. But again,
Amazing.
Yeah, I definitely say to anyone who wants to stream food and drink, have a game plan for setting things up. Like, even apart from the whole thing of like, you know, what you're gonna make, have a game plan. Like, it doesn't take me quite as long to set up because I just noom in and out. Like, I move my 2 key lights, my camera, a couple of things. I have a separate laptop that I bring in and out for streaming in the kitchen, and I have to move the table around. I have to move things like in here and move things back out. And when I was setting up to come back in here, I had to skid in because I only finished stream maybe an hour before I came on here. So I was skidding back in with the key lights, back in with the camera. But like, make something you actually enjoy, not something that's going to look fancy on stream, because then it gives you more freedom to actually chat and relax into what you're doing. And then you can start doing anything else you want, you know, when you're more comfortable with that. But have a game plan for setting up. It's a beautiful thing. It's necessary.
cook what you want to eat. Cook what you want to
Yeah.
eat. Don't cook something
Letting
you
it
don't
go to
want to
waste.
eat. Do not do it.
Especially the plan thing. Like, stick to that. It's yes, on Twitch, it's important to engage chat and see what's going on. But you know, if you have mods, stick to your plan. Like, keep things in a list or a recipe, or if it's something that you make, but don't necessarily worry, because as we talked about, the time commitment is like, if you're cooking that's not baking, like it's actively cooking while you're trying to talk about something. It's like, no, focus on your food, because the food is the point, you know. So I think that's the other thing. It's like, when you're there, like, and yeah, you'll get, just like anyone starting out streaming, like, your camera's probably not going to be great to start, your lighting may not be great to start, but all of those things can be built up. But every single stream, you're kind of getting your technique down for being on stream. And I always say, focus on your meal, and the rest will just kind of happen because everybody's on chat going like, ooh, and ooh, what is that? So yeah.
I will note that the two best pieces of advice came from Kinara, who is currently in our chat, and a drunk Canadian chef, Chef de Party. And I remember that when Kinara gets questions about, well, I'm not sure if I should start streaming because I don't have a lot of equipment, blah, 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 blah. She usually say something along the lines of, I started off with a laptop and a camera, and it's fine. When I was kind of wavering on whether or not to start streaming, Chef de Party did his best Shia LaBeouf impersonation and was like, just do it. Okay, he was also 13 beers in at that moment. But the point is, so I was like, okay, I would just do it. And so I did. And for me, my setup is fairly easy. Like right now, I'm streaming off a laptop and my one C920. In my kitchen, I have a whole rig that my husband helped me build. So I have the kitchen computer, I have my room computer, I've got this laptop. And my setup's pretty easy. I just have to move my camera because the major work is right there.
Oh, that's so
But
smart.
aside from that, I mean, it takes up a lot of counter space, but I'll suck it up and deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot easier. I'm so sorry, Dona. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, not at all, not at all. I'm just worried that they'll start shouting at me. Oh, I am stunning. Thank you so much. So basically,
That
we
is not what they
have-
said.
We gotta close it up. No, okay. So, real quick, we literally have less than 5 minutes. Very quickly, we will have one comment or one question from the chat from Kanara saying, to any panelists, what encourages you to stream? Now, this is gonna have to be very quick because I want to make sure you all have your leaving shout outs and things like that. I'm gonna quickly say what encourages me, I guess, for me, having a lot of people coming in who don't have access to safe spaces or queer spaces because of alcohol, because of drink, because of drugs, because of just clubs in general. Streaming in drag is A, very vulnerable, but B, very, very visibly queer. So a lot of people, even if they don't talk or don't do anything, them lurking and being around other queer people and hearing other experiences and just enjoying themselves, it doesn't all have to be about misery and about negativity. It is literally just someone enjoying the space. That drives me every time I stream because it has less become about the drag, the baking, the food. It's now just become about the connection with people, knowing that they benefit and will flourish as a person. Doesn't even have to be queer, just as a person. So yeah, sorry to dump that in there, but does it? As we have to. Thank you.
A lot of sense, right? Too. Yeah.
Amazing.
I guess I'll probably
Community.
Community. Yeah, honestly, it's my favorite. It is so fun. I think, especially food and drink, you connect more, I feel, with community because it's so upfront.
Correct. For me, I think it's kind of more teaching. So I've always wanted to be a teacher. So before I wanted to be a journalist, I wanted to teach, and my grades weren't very good in university. So I couldn't get into teacher college. So you know what? And of course, I didn't have enough money to go to teacher college. So it is what it is. So now I'm literally. I worked in the industry, and there was a lot of so many misconceptions, not just about food, like especially the food I really enjoy, like Asian and world cooking. There's a lot of dishes that are done incorrectly, or people, they call it authentic, but when it's there's some things here, and also people think that or maybe Chinese food or Asian food or world food very difficult. But again, with my training and what my experience have, I just want to show people the world. So I mean, I will show you the
Amazing.
world.
Karaoke later. We're
Anyway,
up for
exactly.
time
Thank
here.
you. That's exactly what I wanted.
Cake or Brian, would you like to chime in before we finish up?
I think one of the things I really love is just the feeling of community. But one thing I just love in general with streaming, and that goes into food and drink as well, is I love making people laugh. I just love knowing that people can come in as well and have a laugh. And particularly for people who are like younger and maybe find themselves, or older and find themselves, that they know the laugh is never going to be at their expense. It's going to be at my expense. And I'm okay with that. But I just love making people laugh. And it's like, it's just such a great feeling. And if I can do that while baking a nice cake, that makes it all the better.
Amazing. Brian?
I think to piggyback onto John, it's about the teaching aspect. It's about like letting people know I do a lot of accessible cooking, like not trying to be, like don't worry about someone telling you to use fancy ingredients when you can actually get something at the store, or here's something that I want to make but I don't have access to this, here's a shortcut. Or with a lot of my mixology stuff, I've now started making non-alcoholic versions of the cocktails, because people are always like, oh, I want to enjoy this, but what's a good substitute for that? So I think that is what I most appreciate. And when people start asking questions, and if they're questions I can answer, to kind of let people walk away with something that they learn that they can take away and use themselves.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, not to rush us. I know I'm so bad at timing. Very quickly, I want to thank you all so much for being here. We're gonna go around and quickly say where people can find you on Twitch. And yes, because I want to make sure people know where to find you. Because who knows, maybe we need to do another one of these, seeing as we have maxed out the time. So real quick, John, where can people find you?
You can find me 3 times a week. 3 or 4 times a week. Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, Tuesdays. John Leung at twitch.tv / John Leung 888. So JOHN LEUNG 888. And come put some Asia in your mouth. So
amazing. Cake, how about yourself?
For myself, I'm cakejumper on Twitch. You can find me there Monday to Friday. Friday is food and drink. Rest of the time, we're just having a great laugh playing variety games. And on all other platforms, you can find me either as cakejumper or it's cakejumper.
Ryan?
You can find me pretty much everywhere as that, Urban Bohemian. I mostly stream games, so the kitchen streams are often a little special because, like we've mentioned, you kind of have to move your whole setup over there. But you can find me there 3 days a week. I'm taking a little bit of time off lately because my birthday is next week, but you're also going to see me in some fun panels. You're going to see me in some charity TTRPG one-shots. And in October, stay tuned to my Twitter, because I'll be telling all about that there.
Amazing. And Jane?
Oh
Oh no, I can't hear you. Oh, there we go. We can hear you now.
Thursdays on at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and soul food around the world. And yeah, that's what I do. Come check me out. It's going to be awesome. Mwah.
Amazing. You can find all of their links on Twitter underneath the socials. You can find it on Gaming Mag. I want to quickly thank Gaming Mag and obviously Ally and Devolver Digital for sponsoring the session. You can find out where the rest of the panels are going to be at gaming.live online. My name has been Dona Tarte. You can find me at Dona Tarte everywhere. I stream Tuesday to Thursdays, and every other Thursday, rarely, we do baking and horror. I'm getting there. Don't worry about it. Anyway, have a fantastic afternoon. You can find me actually in about 10 minutes on the main stage. I will be decorating some gorgeous cake. A cake. I'm not going to set up your standards. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Goodbye, everyone. I hope you have a wonderful night. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.
no.